Well, hello everybody. It's Monday morning, the day after the holiday.
Mhm.
That's right. We had a big 4th of July season going on. All the dogs were wetting in their beds, crying and hovering in the corners. Miss Stephanie Appleby, she was visiting the West Coast, then came back to the lake and did all kinds of stuff.
I did. I'm on the struggle bus today.
The struggle bus, struggling to get back
Yeah.
into the swing of things.
Yeah.
It's a government holiday today. Maybe you could pretend that's your holiday today.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah, give you a little run, a little leeway to get ready for the week. Well, I hope everybody's week has been going okay and the weather is fine and dandy. I like a cool morning and a hot, warm day. It's July and a beautiful one at that. We do have our special guest today is Saundra McDowell. She has been a state auditor, I believe. She can correct me if that's not true. She has held the state office, and here she is on the phone with us, live from wherever you are. Where are you from there, Miss Saundra? We're bringing you
Good
up as a
morning.
Missouri. Good morning.
I am in St.
Go right
Louis
ahead.
now,
St. Louis.
but we have lived all over the state of Missouri. Actually, I've lived in Kansas City and Springfield and in Jeff City, Columbia area, and jobs have taken us different places. So we're in St. Louis now. And I will correct you, I have not held any elected office. I did win the GOP nomination for state
Oh,
auditor in 2018. But then I narrowly lost to our current auditor, Galloway, in the general election. And but I have worked for the state, so I think that's where you're getting that from. I was the
okay.
director of enforcement for the securities division at the Secretary of State's office. So I led my own team of auditors and investigators looking into securities fraud.
Okay, so you did. You're a lawyer, and you have
Yes.
worked with securities fraud and the auditing, and that's where I thought you were the state auditor, and I was wrong on that. So, it is. Hey, that's a good thing to remember. You ran for state governor last year during a terrible pandemic fiasco. How was that? You visited every county in the state, didn't you? A
I
lot of
tried to get
travel.
everywhere I possibly could. You know, the thing with the COVID pandemic was it made it very difficult to campaign. So in 2018, when I ran for auditor, everything was open. Obviously, it was 2018. So all the Republican events were going on. They had Lincoln Days everywhere. And so I really got everywhere I possibly could in 2018 to meet the people and hear their concerns about what was going on with our state, things that needed to be audited, places that they thought had issues. And, that's our taxpayer money. It's really important to know where that money is going. And so I got everywhere I could in 2018. Now in 2020, everything was closed down. The counties weren't having their Lincoln Days. They weren't having their Republican Club meetings. And so I had to set up my own meetings and fundraisers and events to get out and meet the people. So we kind of took a truck around with a flatbed on the back, and I set up shop in parking lots and all kinds of places, just talking to whoever was there and having our own events. And it was great. It was great. It worked out really good. And so I was really excited to see so many people come out, even during a pandemic.
Well, you definitely had a courageous heart to go out and leave your family and keep going and then bring your family along. You've got kids.
I do. I have two sets of twins and then one
Wow.
singleton after that. So they are all currently just our first set just turned 8. So they're all currently 8 years and younger. First set's 8. The second set are about to turn 7. Our youngest is going to be 5 here in a couple of weeks. So I did take them a lot of places with me. Of course, during the COVID pandemic, I didn't take them as many places. It was harder to even bring kids with you during that time. But I took them everywhere I could go with them, and they enjoyed it. And I think that running for office and being in politics at all, I think one of the main reasons I'm doing it and why I think a lot of people do it is for the kids. That's our future. Those are the
Yeah.
people that we are supposed to be leaving our country better for them. And so having my children there, and yeah, you have to leave them for a little bit of time to get out and get the job done, but ultimately that's why we're doing this, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. Our children are the future. In fact, they're the lifeblood of our society. Miss Stephanie Appleby. She's with us. You can see her there too, Saundra. So I want you two to
Hi,
introduce
Stephanie.
each other.
Hi.
Stephanie is the director for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness for Southwest Missouri. Now, Stephanie is here once a month on this program, and I do a program Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 o'clock to 9:40 on Axe Media Group on Facebook or AMG Broadcasting on YouTube. So both of those. Of course, we are also picked up later on Twitter and LinkedIn. We're doing that live as well. But then the other one that we pick up is Daily Motion in Paris, France. So we have a worldwide audience.
Amazing.
And people watch this from everywhere. But our biggest pull is in the Springfield, Southwest Missouri area. And that's why Stephanie's here. She's also a mom. And she has probably questions about how the state relates to the mental health department.
Yeah, so I work a lot with the mentally ill, and I myself suffer from anxiety, depression, and was homebound for 14 years where I couldn't leave my house at all. And it was really hard for me because there wasn't any resources at the time for people living with agoraphobia. And so now, since we've had the pandemic, we have all these resources and Zoom and all of these things that would have probably really helped me back then. So I think that we're moving in the right direction, but I think, I guess what I kind of wanted your opinion on what you think needs to be done more for mental health.
No, I love that you're doing this because it is, to me, it is one of the things that has deteriorated the most over the last probably 20 years. I think it's purposeful. I think that, with the opioid crisis, with our education system, the way that it's going downhill, we can talk more about that. That mental health is something that we need to be focusing on. And we're not the way that we should be. They want to put a PDMP program in place or do these other things to combat these issues. Unemployment, for one. I mean, when I traveled around the state, what I heard the most was that we don't have a lack of jobs. We have jobs. We don't have people that can hold the jobs because they can't pass drug tests. And that's the same across the state. And I think it's going back to the mental health issue. So there's so much more that we could and should be doing about the mental health issues. And I feel like a lot of stuff that they're doing, it's addressing the symptoms and not addressing the root cause of what the actual problems are, which is mental health. And I love the topic for today because, I do think that our freedoms are being taken away. And I think that it's been happening over a significant period of time. In fact, there's a lot of studies out there, research showing how you can psychologically take over organization, a country, if you will, by doing certain steps, which I think that they've been doing for a long time. And mental health is part of that. I think that goes back to our education system as well. I think they're instilling a lot of this into our children at a younger age. I mean, I was in the military and I went to 5 or 6 different schools. I don't know if I always consider Maryland one, because when I was deployed, I actually took classes through Maryland. But I have gone to so many different undergrads. And of course, now that was 10, 15 years ago. But every undergrad school I went to, I saw the same thing, and they were trying to indoctrinate the kids in these colleges. And because I was already a Christian, I was already very conservative, they couldn't flip me, but they tried very hard. And I liked the schools academically, but you could tell that they were pushing this on the kids. And now it's happening through K through 12 and has been for a while. And now I have these younger children and I'm seeing it. I did virtual school with them this last year after COVID hit, and they gave us the option if you didn't want your kids to wear masks, then you could have them in virtual school. And I'm definitely not someone that believes that masks were the right way to go. After all the studies came out, I definitely didn't want my kids in masks, so we brought them over to virtual schooling, and I saw firsthand in second grade how much they're starting to push their liberal agenda onto our children. And it just goes back to, No Child Left Behind, all the different things that I think they've pushed over the years, it deteriorates the children in so many ways, but mental health is one of those, and that's something that I think we have to combat more. So I think, Johnny, you were talking about how what are we doing effectively to combat the way they're taking our freedoms away. And I think the school system is one of the major things we've got to make changes in. And you're seeing this a lot too. People are pulling their kids out. We've got so many more homeschooling parents now. We're probably going to be homeschooling next year. Wentzville School District is where we're at. And they're supposed to be very conservative. That's one of the reasons we moved here. And they're actually starting to look at putting critical race theory in effect here and doing things that I don't agree with. So we may very well homeschool next year as well, or go to charter school, which is something I think we also need to encourage across the state as other options for schooling. And I'll get off my soapbox, but the education stuff is very, very crucial to combat exactly what you're talking about, Stephanie, but also our freedoms that are being taken away.
That's really important points. We'll be back right after this important message from our sponsor. City.
Yeah.
All right, Queen City Insane Asylum. They're a semi-pro football team in Springfield. Have you known about them?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't follow sports a lot, and that's kind of cool that we have a semi-pro football team right in Springfield.
Yeah.
And they're also owned by the same company that has H2O Zone, which is a subscription for water purification for your health. They were a sponsor, and they sponsored this week. We're giving away $100. This past week, we had a winner, Susan, and her last name is like one of those hyphenated names. It's like an Italian name. It starts out really small, like Smith Fabrizio.
Oh.
She's in Texas, and she won $100
cool.
on AMG Broadcasting. Caprizio. And Anami of Southwest Missouri was the sponsor last week. I don't know if you realized that.
I didn't.
But you were all over the place. While you were gone, we were advertising NAMI
thanks,
all
guys.
week long
Thank
give
you.
away $100 for one of our amazing, and that Susan is the one that won the NAMI
awesome.
money.
Great.
She's the NAMI award winner. Now, what that means to you folks is you can keep listening, watching, and viewing. We will have a variety of different things going on this summer. We might change different things for you. I'm giving away 2 pies from Village Inn in Ozark this month. So we're going to have 2 amazing pies given away to 2 of our listeners. Saundra McDowell is on the line with us. She lives near St. Louis now. She's been living in different places around the state. She can tell you about the central part of the state, the east, the west, and the south. So it's pretty cool to me. I've lived in North Missouri. I lived up in Chillicothe, but I was down in Southwest Missouri almost my entire life. I was 10 years old when we moved there, and I was gone Kansas City for 2 years, North Missouri for 4 years. But other than that, a lot of time right here in Springfield area. Saundra ran for governor of Missouri last year. What a bold move for a mom with young children.
I love her already.
And
she's
amazing. I have met her in
Yes.
person. In fact, one thing I did for you, Saundra, is I gave you a light up cross for your yard with a American flag.
It's still in my front yard.
That's what I gave you. I don't know if you made that connection, but that's the one. But it's fun. I think it's an interesting concept to light up yards with crosses. Let people make their own statements that way.
Yeah.
So we're talking about freedoms, and our freedoms are very important to us. We're hearing about different things that are being responded to with COVID, and now that seems to be lingering. Saundra, I wanted to ask you, why do you think that Missouri numbers keep rising in the media? Why do the COVID numbers keep showing up? Do you think they have an agenda, or do you think these are real? I don't want to disparage people that are suffering, but I don't understand it.
I agree. I mean, it's hard for me to believe the media at all anymore, because there's been so many times where we know they have lied. We know they've been caught in lies, and I believe it's fear mongering. I think that they are trying to instill fear in people. And honestly, I think Missouri's kind of on the border of which direction we're going to go. You know, there's a lot of states that said, nope, we're not shut. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of states. There was a few states that said, nope, we're not shutting down. And I'm not, as a governor, I'm not going to allow any of the local areas to put requirements in place that trample on your constitutional rights and make businesses shut down and shut down churches and schools and everything that was happening. And so we saw a few states do that. But, they can say Missouri didn't shut down, but we did, because the governor stepped aside and allowed the local elected officials to put their own requirements in place. So you saw St. Louis shut down across the board. I mean, businesses, restaurants were shutting down. You couldn't go anywhere without a mask. Even the gym, even my gym, they were requiring you to wear a mask during your, Zumba or whatever classes you're taking, which I think is not, it's not healthy for people. And so we saw that in certain areas. I think Springfield had a lot of those requirements as well. And it was very harmful for our economy here in Missouri. So I think that Missouri is kind of on the border of, okay, which direction are they going to go? Are they going to say, no, we're not shutting down this next time, like a few other states, like, my Florida, that have just been so excited to see the governor there doing some amazing things. We know which direction they're going to go. We know they're not shutting down. But is Missouri going to do it this time? Can we force Missouri to do it if we scare them enough to make them think that this new variant is going to be more harmful to children as well? They're pushing that to say, oh, the younger people are more susceptible to this new variant. And I think it's all about fear. And I say the same thing with you. I don't want to, I don't want people that are actually susceptible to getting it, that have underlying conditions, to think, oh, it's not real, because I do think it's real. But I do think they're also just trying to scare people into getting vaccinated and into doing things that they don't want to do, like wearing masks or staying home, social distancing. So I think it's a little of both. I think it's real, but I also think the media tries to scare us.
Well, I appreciate your perspective on that. Stephanie, do you have anything else you want to ask about that? Or
Well, both of my kids have COVID right now. And
Okay.
so it's been so scary for me. I mean, my kids are 26 and 19,
Okay.
but they're still my babies. And, both of my kids they didn't get the vaccine. They don't want the vaccine. No one in my family wants the vaccine.
Right.
And, when I put on Facebook, that my kids have COVID, please pray for them. I can't tell you how many comments I got of, well, why didn't they get the vaccine? Or did they get the vaccine? And it's really difficult for me because, it's almost like you have to argue your point and say, well, listen, I don't agree with it. It hasn't been out long enough. There's not enough research. I mean, people are really getting passionate about this and really kind of getting angry with those of us who have decided not to get the vaccine. So that's been really difficult.
Well, let's jump right into the vaccine controversy. It is a controversy. It hasn't been an easy one to resolve. There's people that say, I don't like it when people are just bashing the other side. I wish people could just agree to disagree without being hateful. What's your take on that, Saundra?
Yeah, I think that
There's a
it
lot
goes
of
back to
division
our
over
freedoms,
Yeah.
If you
They're
want to
taking
get
away-
vaccinated, I think that can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think it goes back to the same thing as wearing a mask. If you want to do that, if you want to get vaccinated, then I think that you should be able to do that. But I don't think that they should be forcing that on anyone, or or shaming people that decide one way or the other. And making them feel like they have to defend, like Stephanie's saying, have to defend her position. I mean, we have just as much a right to say no to a vaccine as we do to say yes to one. And so these, mandatory vaccinations, vaccine passports, things like that, I think that takes our freedoms away. It takes our rights away. I'm definitely not an anti-vaxxer. I mean, I've been vaccinated. I was in the military. I was stuck with who knows what, but I want to make that choice for my kids, for myself, on if I want them to get those vaccines or not. I don't want that to be a government mandate saying you have to do this. No, government, don't tell me what I have to put in my body or what I have to put in my kid's body. I want to make that decision. And I agree with Stephanie. They skipped animal testing. They were testing in other countries. A lot of people died over there during the process. It went way too quickly, and I just don't trust these vaccines. And also with the amount of propaganda and the celebrities and the people that are trying to force this on it, it just makes me not trust it even more. Why are you having to push something that is supposedly so good for everybody? Why do you have to push on us so much? If it was actually so good for everyone, why can't we just see that and believe that, oh, we need this? But no, they have to tell you, they have to incentivize it. They're giving away things for people that get vaccines. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't have a good feeling about it.
Well, we are going to push something that is good for somebody, and that's NAMI of Southwest Missouri. Right after this, we'll be back.
People that have mental illness are not weak. They're the strongest people I know because we've had to endure so much.
We are back. This is Morning Mouth with Johnny Rooster, and I'm your host, a co-host by Stephanie Appleby. You saw her in the commercial. Did you see your commercial yet?
I saw it.
It was your first time to
Thank
see
you.
it.
Yeah.
So you're on there talking about mental illness and how strong people have to be.
Yeah.
Now, I know you have to feel like you've got to be strong today because today is a harder day than a usual day for you.
It is.
But when you say that, does it give voice to it? Does that help?
I think everyone struggles after the pandemic. I can remember people saying, oh my gosh, I have to self-quarantine and how am I going to do this? And I did it for 14 years, with my agoraphobia. And I think
which is the fear of open
spaces. Yeah. And that's actually how Paula Deen got her start. She lived with agoraphobia too. Fun fact. Don't know if anybody knows that.
Did not know that.
But yeah, so it's difficult. And I love listening to this dialogue that we're having today because finally I feel like I'm talking to somebody who gets it. My gosh, how refreshing.
It's nice to hear Saundra talk. When she was doing in-person appearances, it was impressive to see somebody with that kind of voice to what people are thinking and feeling and wanting to get and represent us on that level. If you had become governor, Saundra, what are some things that you would see are the most valuable things that you would approach first?
Well, I do think that, there's so much, in all honesty, it's hard to even say where I would start. First of all, my husband has always said I'm a workhorse and I love to work. I don't know when to stop. I don't know when to put stuff down. When I was pregnant with twins, I sat and worked at my computer, 10, 12 hours with swollen feet, stuck up on a bench somewhere because I just don't know when to stop. You have to make me. And I just would have gotten so much done, I think, in 4 years. Can you imagine what you could get done in 4 years?
Yes.
The reason I ran for state auditor is because there's so many problems around our state. And the one good thing about being governor is that you can actually tell the state auditor what needs to be audited, and they have to do it. So first, I would have gotten a lot of things audited that I knew about from 2018. So I would have covered that.
Covered something.
Yes, and that's where you have to start. I think you have to do the investigations. You have to find out what is actually going on here and how do we fix it, because the auditor's office doesn't just do financial audits, they do efficiency audits as well, and that's our taxpayer money. I think that's very important to people. Where is my money going here in this state? You've got all this money coming in from the federal government as well with COVID. We don't know where that money is going, and no one's being very specific about it. So I'd want to know that for sure. And so doing that, working with the auditor's office, trying to uncover, the issues that we have. DESE needs audited. Our Department of Education, they need audited. We need to fix a lot of stuff there. Honestly, as governor, governors have a lot more authority in different areas than what I think people realize. Even with the GOP, the GOP did not support me. They did not support me as their GOP nominee in 2018, and they definitely didn't support me in 2020. Now, of course, we had a Republican governor, but again, they did things to actively go against me. And so I think we need an overhaul in our GOP. And the governor does that. The governor is able to help get the chair in place. I know they vote on it, but they usually take the nominee from the governor's perspective. And so our Republican Party, our state Republican Party here in Missouri, needs reformed. And that's something you can do as governor. And I think the main reason for that is that they're not here for the people. They're pushing their own candidates. They're pushing their own agenda, and it needs to go back to the people. The people need to be in charge of that, and we're not right now. And
These
so those are some of the major
you're
things. I
right.
mean,
These voices do need to be heard. John Boyd chimed in and said Kansas City, Missouri Water Department needs to be audited. So there are people
oh,
watching right
definitely.
now live. If you have opportunity, even now, Stephanie, if you're on your device, you're going live on Facebook. You can find us at Axe Media Group or AMG Broadcasting on YouTube. Share that with your friends. Let them subscribe. Let them follow. This is an important topic. We're going to have this as recorded so we can always go back to this topic. It'll say Johnny Rooster with Saundra McDowell in the title, and people can find it that way. But I do want people
And
to
I'll
know
share
that
the
they
link
can
as well.
find it, and I want you to share that with people in your circles of influence, both of you, because this is an important topic, and I don't think we're being heard enough yet. And besides the concerns that we have, what can we start doing to feel like we're getting somewhere instead of just complaining?
I think doing exactly what we're doing here. I've been really impressed to see so many people start their own podcasts, and more conservative voices out there is definitely needed. I think that people are starting to wake up to this and start using their voices. I mean, just like Stephanie said, you put out there something and you get criticized for it. And that's what I think people are scared of. I mean, I can't tell you all of the horrible messages I've gotten just from being a political candidate and putting my views out there. And I do I'm pretty blunt about what I think. And like you said earlier, I'm saying it, but everyone's thinking it. The majority of Missouri is conservative. And if you go around and say this is what I think as a normal conservative voice, you're going to have most of the people there agree with you. They may be scared to agree with you, but I think they do agree with you. So I think we need more leaders that are willing to get out and just start speaking it. Just speak the truth. And the more people that speak the truth, they're going to encourage others to speak the truth. And pretty soon people are going to get more comfortable talking about these things because they're going to see that we are the majority. And it goes back to Trump, the silent majority. I told people in 2020, right. I'm glad we're the silent majority, but stop being silent. Why are we silent? Yeah. We are the majority. So take ownership over that and start talking and be leaders in your community.
Well, you put yourself out there. You've been put through the ringer. Are you going to run for a public office again?
I'm a Christian, and that's why I love the light up cross so much too. And my husband and I, we pray about everything, especially major decisions. And I am an attorney, and I prayed after 2020. If I was able to go back to practicing law, there was a lot of people that were wanting to sue the government, and I would love to do that. I think that's needed also. I think lawsuits are definitely needed. Our justice system is there for a reason. But I got very clearly from the Lord that I wasn't supposed to practice right now, like with that kind of law anyway. I'm doing some stuff on the side, but nothing, permanent. And I think I have a feeling the reason why is because I'm not done with politics. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what office, if he does want me to run for office, I don't know what that is. People were asking, Galloway has said she's not running again for state auditor. So they're wondering if I will do that. I have to say, I don't know. I haven't gotten any confirmation yet from the Lord, and I don't want to do anything that I'm not supposed to do. Even though I have a passion for that, and I would love to do that.
Last year, you said that the Lord told you that he clearly said to run for Missouri state governor, and that you took to believe that this was going to happen for you. I thought, well, you didn't have a really strong showing for the overall numbers because the current governor had such the backing of the party. What is your take on that in retrospect?
Well, I think it's hard to even know all the time, what the Lord is doing or what his reasons are, but we have to be obedient. We have to do what he tells us to do. I think, I try to do that. If I know I've heard from him, I think, well, he's got a reason. I don't know what it is all the time, but he's got a reason. I did see, though, a lot more last year than I did in 2018. I was very naive in 2018. I wanted to believe that, the people in office are there protecting us and protecting our rights and freedoms, and they're doing the right thing.
Wow.
And the more you're involved, the more you see things, I became a lot less naive, I'll tell you that. And I am not happy with Missouri's elected officials, with our government. It's a lot more corrupt than people believe it or want to believe that it is. But I saw that even more in 2020. And I think I needed to see those things. I needed to have my eyes opened even wider to see those problems and that corruption in certain areas. I still don't know why he had me do that, but I do think that a lot of what's happened to Trump and what we're doing nationwide is also happening here in Missouri. So I think it just gave me more information and made me more certain about my views on things because I ran in 2020. So I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes you don't know until later why the Lord has you do certain things, right?
Yes, John Boyd has chimed in again, said it is tough to overcome the establishment. So are we feeling like David and Goliath here? But then Goliath didn't prevail. So what do we do about the establishment? We have about 5 minutes remaining. So what can we do as citizens? And you can chime in on this too, Stephanie. How do we feel like we're making headway against a system that feels like it's bigger than us?
I think just like what she said, advocacy, it's the same with mental health. We do it every day. And I think I saw within my own life, the struggles that I went through, it was ultimately God was preparing me for my purpose. And I think in this instance too, she was able to see more things. Her eyes were open more to things. And I think as time goes on, that her purpose will be fulfilled. And I pray that happens because, my gosh, she's amazing.
That's right.
I love her.
Oh, well, I know that you're very impressed with Saundra McDowell.
Yes.
Saundra is a wife, a mother, an Air Force veteran. She ran for Missouri State Governor last year against our incumbent governor, Mike Parson. So when the last 4 minutes, Saundra, we want to know, you've got the future ahead of you. You're still young. You're beautiful. You look good in red or blue.
Thanks.
So, and I want to say I like the mirrored sunglasses. That's so FBI agent looking.
I love
I like that.
sunglasses and hats and guns and
Yeah.
coats, and I could totally be an FBI agent.
We really like you, Saundra. We're big fans here.
Yes, I'm going to
Well,
share,
I
share,
appreciate
share
So
that
you get
so
to know
much.
Saundra McDowell.
Yeah.
You got another
I
fan right
appreciate
here,
that.
Stephanie Appleby, director of the National Alliance on Mental Illness for Southwest Missouri.
Senator Blunt did a lot. Him and I have met often, and I actually went to Washington to visit him, and he has done a lot. A lot of people don't like his politics, I know, but for mental health, he did a lot for us and for our agency and advocacy. Okay. And he's one of the guys that really wants to hear from the people when it comes to mental health, and that was impressive to me. He said, I have all these professionals telling me these things, Stephanie, but I want to hear from you.
Yes.
You're a consumer, you're a patient. I want to know what your thoughts are, and that's so important.
The government does need to be listening to the individual organizations and individuals. So Saundra, you've got lots going on. What are you doing currently now? You said you're kind of doing law on the side, but what does your day-to-day operation look like now?
Well, like I said, I'm doing some contract work, legal contract work, but the Lord has told me to rest in the Lord this year. So I have really been trying to rest and really enjoy my family and figure out the whole school situation because, like I said, we probably will be homeschooling. And I did, even with virtual school, that's a lot of homeschooling when you have kindergartners and second graders in virtual school, the parents still doing a lot there. So I've just been doing a lot of family time and praying about what's next, but also encouraging others to use their voices. Every time I see someone on social media that I think could be a really good influencer, I try to reach out to them to try to get them to speak proudly and speak boldly and say more of what they're saying to encourage those people to be leaders in their communities. I will say what you were talking about a while ago with how do we overcome the establishment. I do want to say for everyone listening, we have a lot of small Republican counties in the state of Missouri. And I saw a lot of the Republican clubs did not agree with the establishment, but they were scared to say anything, and they were scared to do anything opposing what the establishment wanted. So even though they supported me or they supported other candidates that weren't the establishment pick, they were scared to come out against the establishment. And I want to say there are more counties that are like that than are establishment type of counties. I went to every county I possibly could. There's about 3 or 4 counties that were like, nope, we want the establishment pick. We don't care what you think. We want to go with the establishment.
Yeah.
In fact, they wouldn't let me speak. They wouldn't even let me speak in their Republican clubs because they were pro-Parson, because they were told to be pro-Parson.
Sure.
But there's only 3 or 4 of them. The rest are all very upset that they were pushing their establishment pick on them. And if the Republican clubs around the state would band together, I think they would be able to take out the establishment and say, you know, we're done listening to you. We don't agree with you. It's not what the people want. But they have to understand that they're not alone. There's more of them. Again, there's more of them than there are establishment people, but everyone is scared to say anything.
I believe that's also true of the body of Christ. If we would stand together, we wouldn't be so divided. We'd have a better voice in the public. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here each and every day, Monday through Friday, on AMG Broadcasting on YouTube or Axe Media Group on Facebook. We are also on LinkedIn, Twitter, and we are on Daily Motion. We are out of time, but we do definitely thank Mrs. Saundra McDowell. She is an attorney, an Air Force veteran, a wife, a mother, a former Missouri candidate. The list goes on and on. You just got a new fan in Arkansas, Susan, or Saundra, for what that's worth. A lady named Susan in Arkansas just became a fan of yours. So
well,
there
that's
are people
nice.
out
Thank
there
you,
supporting
Susan.
you.
I appreciate that. And Arkansas, I know Arkansas needs a lot down there too. I'm praying that you guys get some good elected officials there.
Well, thank you again for being here all the way from the Wentzville area. And until next time, and thank you, Stephanie, for being in the studio today with the little adjustments here we're doing with the phone. I'll be back on Wednesday with the rock and rollin' guy from the Dirty Saints. He is the guitar player. Jeff Ward is his name. But until then, we're going to rock right into the bucket list at the top of the hour with Dr. Paul Collins and his wife, Nancy.